Hello dear viewers and welcome to a new episode of Windows. I'm your host for tonight, Mohammed Abdurrahim. On the 18th of May every day, the world celebrates International Museum Day. And really it's spreading into International Museum Week and not just day. IMD, International Museum Day, provides the opportunity for museum professionals around the world to meet and raise awareness about the role that museums play in our lives, in our culture and heritage. And there is a theme each year for International Museum Day or IMD, and this year's theme is Museums for Education and Research. Last year was Museum Sustainability and Well-Being. The year before that, the Power of Museums, and it's been the case. We've had a theme since 1992, and the world has been celebrating this occasion since the 70s. And Egypt, of course, the owner of much of the world's heritage, monuments and fortunes, is no exception and is celebrating International Museum Day or International Museum Week as we are in the week of International Museums. And tonight we have the great pleasure of having with us here in the studio Dr. Manar Mazhar, a researcher at the Egyptian Postal Museum, also a heritage and museums sciences researcher. A very good evening to you, Dr. Manar, and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Now, the significance of International Museum Day, how do you see it, the importance of such a day?
So this is a very important day for museums and museum institutions around the world. When the ICOM, or the International Council of Museums, decided in 1977 to celebrate museums and what is happening in museums around the world in this day. So they decided in a meeting that let's have one day around the world where museums gather their visitors, and then they talk about the stuff and the challenges that is happening and facing museums around the world in this day. And actually this is a very good day to foster the relation between visitors and their museums, like to invite them in the museums for free of charge. They don't pay for tickets, and also they can go to discover a lot of things like the temporary exhibitions, maybe new stuff like new workshops. And that's how museums may foster a lot of stuff. Maybe also they can prepare virtual webinars for people who can't even go to the museum. And I guess this is a very good day. We have to celebrate it like every month, maybe, not just one day every year. And also for the themes, the ICOM, or the International Council, decides every year that there is a huge challenge that is facing museums. That's why they decided in which topic or which theme we have to talk, or we have to tell the museum institutions around the world to focus. So this year is actually education and research. Yeah, they are also focusing on this, so they are inviting museums to focus on this topic on that day.
Indeed, and before I ask you about how Egypt is celebrating, or celebrated, or is still celebrating International Museum Day, and the Egyptian Postal Museum, where you work, how it celebrated the day, I want to ask you about the theme. Museums for Education and Research, the theme itself. How do you see the significance of the choice of this year's theme?
It's a very good choice, I guess. Museums have to focus on research and education because they are like the two main pillars where museums they accomplish their missions every year when they focus on research and enhance their exhibits or displays. So research is something that we need to focus on, because we have to research always the accuracy of our exhibits and what we have in our museums. Also, education focuses on different programs for visitors, maybe also outreach, not only inside the museum premises, but also outside for outreach programs. So I think that the choice for the two topics, like they are completing each other, it's a very good choice, I guess.
As you mentioned, the first International Museum Day was in '77. By the way, the first theme was in 1992. The first theme was museums and environment. Amazingly, you know, there was I would have assumed that museums and environment would be one of today's themes, but that was the vision since 1992. I want to ask you about the 2017 theme. It seemed to be very interesting. I guess that's the year you graduated, wasn't it? Anyway, museums and contested histories, saying the unspeakable in museums. Very interesting theme. What can you tell us about that theme? Uncontested, contested histories, and saying the unspeakable in museums.
So we all guess that museums, like, they are all exhibiting tangible heritage or something like it's we can really see. But if you just telling me this topic, I guess it's like what we can't exhibit, like the intangible stuff that are not exhibited in the museums, but we can tell the stories around them. For example, traditions. We can't exhibit traditions, but we can focus on them, like to enhance them with workshops. So that's why this is the untold history, or the history that is not really seen through from the exhibits.
Very nice. What about this one? Confuses me. Museums for Sustainable Society. That was the 2015 theme. You as a researcher, how would you tackle this theme? Sustainable society.
Maybe sustainability in societies, it's like you don't have to separate the society from the museum. The same goes for archaeological sites. If you have an area, especially in historic Cairo, you can't separate the community around the building itself. For example, also the houses of historic Cairo. If you focus on the houses, you need to enhance this experience from the community around, because the community will give you another really good experience. Because when you engage them with the stories of the houses, they know who lived here, they know what happened here. You can't actually get inside the stories for the houses of historic Cairo without the stories of people around. So you need to invite the community, maybe engage them with a lot of programs, and you need also, if you enhance the community, I guess you are keeping or preserving or safeguarding the historic house. It's not only about the building or the tangible stuff that are inside the house, but also for the stories that lived behind its corners.
One that is even more confusing is museums and social harmony. How would you explain that? That was the 2010 theme. Social harmony. The link between museums and social harmony.
I guess museums goes beyond their walls. They are not only in the premises. That's why they are really powerful to go beyond and maybe to foster that harmony of the. Is it also about society? You mean like fostering the harmony of the society? I guess yes. It's same goes for the communities. If you are engaging them, then you are fostering really the harmony between people or visitors around the museum. They are inseparable.
Indeed, and speaking of power, the power of museums was the 2022 theme. A very interesting theme was in 2006, museums and young people. So I want to know your opinion about that, and how important is it for young generations to have museums part of their lives?
Maybe in this world of AI, you think that if you invite young people to museums, they might get bored from getting into museums. But actually, museums are not just objects. They are not solid. They are far way beyond the objects. They can be cultural institutions. Museums are our memory. They preserve our memories. That's why I guess young people are also still interested, not only elderly people who go to museums and focus on them. And also that case, it is in Egypt. Actually, 1 year before now, if you tell me this, that young people are interested, I would say I'm not sure if they are interested. But actually, when I got into the experience of content creation, now I can really be sure of that young people are really focusing on their culture, and they are meant with their memories, and they need to, and they want to go actually to museums. They are not just like focusing on the stuff like technologies or what is happening in this world very quickly. They still need, and they want to go to museums.
In fact, what you said is very nice. I think, allow me to add that for some people, AI would be more boring than museums. I mean, museums would be much more interesting than AI. But for others, of course, yeah, as you said, the tendency is to think that this might be boring, but actually, surely for people like you who work in this field, this is more interesting than anything else in life. But also for many other people, and I guess youngsters as well, this could be more interesting than AI, which could be boring for some people, and even some youngsters. 2005 was another interesting theme, museums bridging cultures. How do you see the role of museums in bridging cultures, Dr. Manar?
So when we say about the bridging of cultures, I guess it's like, I just imagine museums around the world collaborating with the traveling exhibitions. They are fostering the institutions and linking them with those traveling exhibitions. So if Egypt, for example, is sending a lot of traveling exhibitions, for example, this one, like the one was in Australia, it left actually the Australian Museum like 2 weeks ago. It was the Ramses and the Golden of Pharaohs. It was a traveling exhibition, like I guess for 3 years, traveling in a lot of countries, and this is like a very good ambassador for us. And also, it's bridging cultures between Egypt and other countries. Like, we are promoting our tourism and our antiquities outside Egypt in those traveling exhibitions, and also they are getting us a lot of revenue for the country. So when we are talking about bridging cultures, I guess the traveling exhibitions are really playing a very vital role in this.
Indeed. The final theme I'm going to ask you about before I ask you about how Egypt celebrated International Museum Day and how the Egyptian Postal Museum, where you work, celebrated it, is behind the scenes in museums. That was 1994. That was the theme. Very interesting one. Tell us what goes behind the scenes, because I mean, you have experience now.
As someone who is working really behind the scenes in a museum, I would say, if you are just separating what is happening in your museum from the visitors, then you are just like building a lot of obstacles for visitors. For example, if you are telling them what are you doing in your conservation labs, then you are engaging them with a new really experience that they don't know. How are you dealing with the objects or the artifacts that are getting a lot of deterioration facts? What are you doing to preserve their cultural heritage? So if you focus on this, and then you like bring them inside this kitchen and tell them what is happening, and also maybe you can tell them I'm preparing for a temporary exhibition. That's how I'm monitoring and installing the objects, and also the objects was in our storages, and now we got them out, and how we are creating the whole process. If you are engaging people in this, I guess it's like you are telling them you are part of this story. It's not just you are a visitor and you are coming to pay a ticket and then you're seeing this whole exhibition. You are part of this story, and you need to be involved from the phase one until you can see the whole exhibition, actually.
Perfect. Now, how did Egypt celebrate International Museum Day? And are celebrations still ongoing, you know, since the 18th of May till today?
So actually, there are a lot of museums in Egypt, especially the museums of the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, were free of charge on that day for Egyptians, and also the Ministry of Culture. But the Ministry of Culture, actually, they were free on 3 days. 17, 18, and 19.
Mm.
We were like opening their
Yeah.
doors for people, everyone to come, and also they announced a lot on their social media platforms for people to come. You can come to our museum and
And how
enjoy.
was the attendance like? The attendance.
The attendance?
Yeah, how was it?
According to the statistics of the Egyptian Museum of Tahrir, so they got around 15,000 visitors on that day.
Each of these 3 days, or
no,
just
on the 18th.
On the 18th.
So
Okay.
it's like a great record for
Okay.
the Egyptian Museum that Egyptians are really aware of that day, and they knew from different platforms or different resources that that day was free of charge. They can go, they can enjoy the museum, the families, and also it was a vacation, Saturday.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
So
right.
that was good for Egyptians also to enjoy the day.
The weekend, right.
Yeah.
And you at the Postal Museum, how did you celebrate?
Then there was a huge program for that day. Actually, we invited a lot of people with special abilities. They came to the museum, and then we gave them guided tours for the museum exhibition and then the halls. And then they were invited to attend a lot of stuff for the speakers and the people who came were invited. Even the guests, like guests from ICOM Egypt, they were invited, and then they began to talk to the people. And also there were people who are translating for people with special abilities, so they are engaged actually. And also there were the instructor who taught us some of the beginners.
The language, the sign language?
The sign language, actually, yes, to try to deal with them like in a very beginner way. And also there were different webinars or for the researchers of the museum. They were also invited to the gift shop of the museum, so everyone can take a gift from the museum. And for sure they came and they were able to go to the museum free of tickets on that day.
Very good, very good. And Manar, in a nutshell, museums must be very important, especially for a country like Egypt, where much of the world's monuments and heritage lies. So how exactly do museums play a role in preserving that rich cultural heritage? Briefly.
Briefly, okay. Actually, museums in Egypt are renovating some museums. For example, the Greco-Roman Museum in Alexandria, it opened like 4 or 5 months ago. So this museum, this is the oldest museum built to be a museum in Egypt in the 19th century at the end, like in 1895. So this museum was opened, but now they decided that they need to renovate this museum, because this museum was like needed to be renovated, and then it was closed for 18 years. And when they opened it, it was like actually full of technology. It can be like the real meaning of museums nowadays. We can see that you can enter the museum, you can have very good experience with the exhibitions. So museums are renovating as much as possible for the old museums, and they are trying to equip the old museums that they are not renovating with different stuff for accessibility. For example, putting hands-on exhibitions in the Egyptian Museum of Tahrir, also making a lot of efforts like for the workshops, inviting a lot of people to come to be speakers in different webinars and different discussion panels that goes around in every month. So I guess they are contributing well, and also they are trying to be up to date also with what is happening, because people are now on social media a lot. They know about museums from social media. That's why also the museum sector Facebook page is very, very powerful, I guess. You can just go to this Facebook page, and then it's like you are inside actually all the museums of Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. You can find all the workshops that is happening, what is happening in the temporary exhibitions for all the museums around
Virtue
Egypt.
of technology.
Yeah, they are also bringing you what is happening in museums. Like if you are not visiting, or you are just a resident of Cairo, or you can't visit that other far city in the south, you can also get to know what is happening there and what they are doing to their visitors, what they are expecting also. So I guess there are a lot of efforts done in museums in Egypt, and contributions that really contribute in the preserving of cultural heritage.
Very good. You mentioned something like about that Greco-Roman museum being the oldest. Allow me to say that, let me say it, that the oldest museum in Egypt would be the open-air museum of the Giza Plateau, or the open-air Karnak temple museum. Egypt is an open-air museum, really, and this is why GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, is already being described, even before its official inauguration, as the biggest cultural city in the world. That's one of the labels for it. Of course, we're all awaiting its official inauguration. Now, Dr. Manar, tell us more about other notable museums that we have here in Egypt that you encourage people from all walks of life, the elderly, the youngsters, Egyptians, foreigners, to visit.
So most people focus on the trio, the huge three museums, the Egyptian Museum of Tahrir, the Islamic Museum of Cairo, and also the Coptic Museum. But also we have a lot of museums, actually, not only the museums of Ministry of Antiquities, but also other museums, because I guess every ministry in Egypt has a museum. Like there are a lot of museums that need people, or need to be light to be shed on them. So I guess Naguib Mahfouz Museum, for example, it's in Takait Abu Dhahab. This is one of the most important and very good museums in Egypt. It's telling us the story of this notable Nobel laureate. Also, there are a lot of other museums, the Egyptian Postal Museum. I guess people need to focus on this one. Also, Kulthum Museum. The other ones like the Royal Carriages Museum in Bulak. The Geyer Anderson Museum also. So I guess we have
a museum for Egyptian civilization, of course, in Fustat.
Which one?
Nemek in Fustat.
Yes, but I guess a lot of people know the National Museum of
Egyptian. It is. Yeah, it's a great place.
It's also going beyond a museum. They are always telling people we are not just a museum. Actually, when you go there, it's not just a museum, because people think that they need to pay a ticket to go to a museum and then try to look for the exhibitions and then go home. But in the Nemek, it's really different. You can attend heritage days, you can attend workshops, you can even taste the food of Egypt. They are inaugurating a very good initiative. It's the Tablayt Mazhar, which is the taste of Egypt, and they are trying to focus and preserve the cultural value of intangible heritage, which is food, or the culinary of Egypt. So they are focusing on a lot of stuff. They are also bringing the heritage of cities around Egypt. So from time to time, they are inviting people from another cities, for example, Esna in Luxor. So they invited people of Esna, and there is a huge heritage project there. And then they came to the museum. We didn't actually pay anything. We didn't pay a ticket. We went into this heritage day, and then they decided to tell us a lot of their food, how their clothes look like, and also their architecture, what is happening in this city. Also the temples there, the temple of Khunom, they have a temple there. So they are bringing us the whole experience of heritage in Cairo. We are here, and we are trying to try this experience without even going to Esna. But actually, when you see this, you want to go to Esna, to know more, to get to see what is there from the people of Islam.
Geographically, I guess, Manar, we have a lot of museums all across the country, right? I want to know your opinion about the idea of inaugurating museums in places like Sharm el-Sheikh or Hurghada. Upper Egypt, I guess, has a lot of museums. There's Al Alamein Museum, I believe. Tell us about this geographical distribution and how important is it to have, or your opinion regarding having museums in places that are known more for leisure or entertainment or beach or sports or safari tourism rather than cultural or religious tourism.
So actually museums have to be there for all the visitors, for the locals and for the tourists. So in cities like Sharm el-Sheikh or Hurghada, they are there for tourists. We know that there are some tourists, they came for the destination of the cities like Sharm el-Sheikh or something. So they don't have time to come to Cairo, or they don't have time to visit maybe the south of Egypt and Luxor and Aswan. So they have the Sharm el-Sheikh Museum. This museum is like giving them the whole experience of Egypt, a lot of antiquities, a lot of stuff that give them how the history of Egypt, what happened in the history of Egypt, like across ages. So they have this experience. And also in another cities, maybe for locals, let's say the Matruh Museum. Matruh is a very far city from Cairo or other cities. How people in Matruh can talk about themselves, or how they can go to museums. They have to have a museum, like a regional museum in their region. So museums are important in the regional areas for local visitors also. So I guess every city in Egypt you go and then you find a museum there. Even it's not in the city, but it's like in the governorate. So actually, I guess
I've heard a lot about the Kafr Sheikh Museum, for instance. What can you tell us about it? I mean, I heard a lot about how great it is. And
actually, I didn't visit it. It's a new museum also. So new museums are really focusing on the technologies and how the museography and the new approaches for museums have to be. So Kafr Sheikh is from the renovated or the new museums that are implementing this idea.
Do we have like regular coordination or visits or exchange of monuments or ideas or communication really between Egypt's museums in general and museums in other places around the world? Yes,
for that traveling exhibition, Ramses and the Gold of Pharaohs. This was a traveling exhibition for a lot of exhibits. It traveled in America and also in Australia. It was the last, and also in Paris. Actually, we got a lot of tourism revenues from this. And promoted for us. It also had a lot of stuff for the Tutankhamun collection, and this is very good because we are promoting for the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum, because we know the Grand Egyptian Museum is going to have the whole collection of the tomb. That's why if you have a traveling exhibition promoting for you before even the official opening or the inauguration of the museum, this is like a huge promotion for you and for your tourism.
Okay, and Manar, you talked about this before, but I want you to expand more on this, please. How do museums engage with local communities and promote cultural education and awareness in general?
So speaking of this, I guess through temporary exhibitions. So if you are having a temporary exhibitions focus on special themes or special topics, maybe ceremonies that are or occasions that are like taking place on that day or that month, so they are gathering a lot of objects from storage to tell you a story. So we are going. We are now. Our next month we will be celebrating the Hajj. Last year, Namek or the National Museum really did a huge work to celebrate this holy occasion. So they did a temporary exhibition. It was about the route of the Hajj from Cairo, going through the desert until the people arrived to the destination. So they were like photos from the archives, and also we had a lot of the cloths of the Kaaba. So they gave us this really unique and holy experience. They gathered us. We didn't, for people who didn't go there, they don't know how it looks like, but they engaged us. So that's why they can engage people. That's how they can engage people. If you are having a special occasion and then you are inviting people to come to like bring things together in their minds. I guess this is the most important factor of engagement for museums, temporary exhibitions.
And Manar, don't tell me it's the Egyptian Postal Museum, because this is where you work. So I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite museum outside of the Egyptian Postal Museum? The one that you really, as someone who naturally has a passion for this field, so for you, which is the museum that you know your heart beats every time you visit it, or you want to see it, you want to sleep over there or whatever?
Actually, it's the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I get a lot of comments like, "Are you still? Is this your home? Like, because you are always going to this museum, you are never getting bored from it." Actually, I never got bored from the Namek, and the surprise.
It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place.
Yes, the surprise is that I don't even pay a ticket every time I go there, because it's like every time I go there, it's like I am attending a heritage day or an event, or they give a lot of good lectures. As if you are still a student and you are getting the lectures of talking about archaeology and antiquities.
9TV International has been there several times, so I mean, this is why you know, I'm really stressing that this is a beautiful place. And I had the privilege of being there more than once, so yeah. And
also their commercial area is really good also, because you can spend time there. You don't have to feel yourself that you are in a solid place, or it's a museum and I have to go to the exhibition or something. You can freely do a lot of stuff other than visiting the exhibition. So that's.
And you're saying this now, maybe when GEM opens, the Grand Egyptian Museum, it will sweep away everything. Maybe, I don't know. Probably, by the way.
Maybe we still don't know, but it's going to be really a very spectacular experience, no doubt.
Yeah. A museum, I mean, overlooking the Giza Plateau, the pyramids. I mean, this is incredible, and of course the monuments they will have there. So, how did you personally celebrate International Museum Day and these days that you know, where the focus is on museums worldwide?
Actually, before I used to go to my special museum, or I pick a museum where it's like it's really confusing every year how to celebrate this year, whether to attend a conference for the ICOM Egypt, or to go to a museum and attend exhibitions, or what they are doing. But actually this year I was at my workplace at the Postal Museum doing my job, and then I had to present in a webinar. It was a panel discussion, a virtual panel discussion for the ICOM. So they were gathering people talking about stamps and postal stuff. And I was talking about the postcards of Egypt and the legacy of Egypt for the postal authority. And actually I was the first Egyptian, because you know, ICOM made an interactive map. So everyone who is celebrating, they have to put themselves on the map. So everyone who opens the map on that day, they can decide which event they can attend. So I was the first Egyptian to be on that map, talking about actually a huge and a great topic like the stamps and the postcards, and how.
Tell us some secrets. I've been there also. 9TV International has been there. in the Egyptian Postal Museum, but tell us some secrets, the new stuff that you have.
So for the Egyptian Postal Museum, you know, we have a lot of halls, and we are talking about the history of communications and also the history of the authority. But actually, what I really like most about the museum, and also as a curator or a researcher, actually I like the objects that have really a good story behind. So I always focus when we have some special guests or I have to give guided tours for people. I focus on stories behind the objects. Because when you're just walking as a visitor, you don't know the huge or the good experience that you can have when you have a guided tour.
Of course.
So actually a lot of objects. Maybe we can talk about any object. So we have a stamp for childhood. So this stamp was for Queen or Princess Faryal. She was the daughter of King Farouk I. So when Faryal was 1 year and a half, they issued a stamp for her. So that stamp bared her picture, and then this stamp was the first ever stamp for childhood and charity in Egypt. You can find on that stamp written 5 + 5 millimes. Why it is 5 + 5? It's always 5, 10, 1 millim. We don't even have any other relevant
why do you have
ones.
this equation?
Why do we have plus?
Yeah.
So
Addition.
when you buy this stamp, you pay 10 millims. 5 goes
plus
for
5.
the 5 goes for the authority. It's like the value of the stamp, and 5 goes for charity for childhood. So this is like my favorite object or
of course
stamp.
It must be.
Yeah, and it's a good idea to think that how to celebrate this.
So why don't we revive this now? I mean, it's a great idea. Do we have something like this now?
For stamps?
Yeah?
Actually, stamps are you know, for technology and what is happening in this world now. Stamps are not really used for the same purposes like the prepaid before. But now, actually, no, we don't have like this. But we can still tell good stories about our legacy.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. Dear viewers, unfortunately our time has come to an end, so on behalf of you we thank very much our dear guest with us here in the studio, Dr. Manar Mazhar from the Egyptian Postal Museum. She's also heritage and museum sciences researcher. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, dear viewers, for watching Windows. This is Mohammed Abdelrahim, and this is